seen some of you request tutorials based on your favorite books or movies, and one in particular was Harry Potter, so I thought who better to do a Harry Potter inspired tutorial with than Lauren Fairweather. If you aren't subscribed to Lauren Fairweather, definitely do so. She is such a delightful person to watch. Not only does she have tons of Harry Potter related videos, but she's also in a wizard rock band, and she makes vlogs, DIYs, and gives you an inside look at how she runs her Etsy shop where she creates jewelry and plushies. For this collab, we are showing you how to make a couple of books inspired by Harry Potter. She's going to show you how to make the cutest Monster Book of Monsters plushie, and you can check that out at the end of this video, and you can also find the link in the video description below. For my part, I'm going to show you how to make a book inspired by Tom Riddle's diary. I will tell you up front that this book takes a while to make. You'll notice that this tutorial is a long one, but on the other hand, that's a great excuse to have a Harry Potter marathon, so I recommend watching those awesome movies while you make this book. Feel free to adjust any part of this tutorial to customize your own book, and I will include a full list of all the supplies and more information in the video description below. Alright, let's get into it and make this Tom Riddle diary. To start out, for the pages, I'm using 80 sheets of 8.5 by 11 inch paper, and you can use less if you want to. Then fold each sheet in half. And I'm just running a bone folder across the folded edge. Then stack 4 folded sheets to make a signature. And you want to just keep doing this until you have all your paper stacked in groups of 4. So you have multiple signatures. Now we're going to measure out the binding holes. Take one signature, and this will be your template, and starting from the center, measure out 1-inch increments on both sides. This entire process is all based on my previous tutorial on how to make a text block. If you're new to this, I highly recommend watching that tutorial as well, because it will go into full detail on how to bind all your pages together. With the template on top, stack all the signatures together, and using a straight edge, make a line across all the signatures on that point that you measured. Now that all the signatures have marks on them, while the pages are still in a signature, pierce where those marks are with an awl. And make sure you put them back in a stack in the order that they were marked in. This will make sure that your book is aligned and straight. Next step is to bind all the signatures together. If you're unfamiliar with the binding method, again, you want to check out this tutorial right here, and it will go into full detail on how to do it. After stitching all the pages together, I really wanted to make the pages more like the diary in Harry Potter, which are kind of old looking. So what I did was I took a little spray bottle and I poured tea into it. If you want to, you could age your paper before you bind. I just did it this way because honestly, I didn't have room for 80 sheets of wet paper to lay out to dry, so this is another way I'm doing it. If you don't have a spray bottle, you can also do this with a sponge brush and just dipping it in lightly brushing the pages. You can also stain your paper with coffee if you don't have tea. I just sprayed a border around each page, and it will soak onto the back of the page, so one spray per page is enough. You really just want to focus on the outside of the pages and leave the spine dry. Do not let it sit in a puddle of tea because it has holes in it and you don't want the paper to rip. Then you want to do the same thing to 2 thick pieces of 8.5 by 11 inch paper, and those will be your end pages. I then let everything dry overnight, and if you want to speed up the drying time, just use a hairdryer. Or use nature's hairdryer and find a nice sunny spot outside and let the book dry. Once the book is dry, you'll notice that the tea does get darker, and I really underestimated just how big the pages would make this book once they were dry and all warpy. So you could get away with using less pages, but the size will go down a little once the book is pressed. I'm going to use this book press, which I made, to hold the book in place while I glue the spine. If you want to learn how to make this, you can check out this video right here. You can also use like heavy books or weight on top of the book to hold it down. I noticed the diary in the movie had a curved spine, so I'm just lightly pushing and pulling out the signatures to give it that effect. Then with the text block aligned and straight on both sides, press it down and brush on a coat of acid-free glue or PVA onto the spine. If you're curious on where to find this type of glue, I will include a link in the description below. Once this coat is dry, you can go ahead and add another coat on top of that. And while you're waiting for it to dry, you can clean your glue brush. After the glue on the spine is all dry, then I'm going to fold those end pages in half. And I'm just using the bone folder again because it presses them down flat. Then put about 1/4 of an inch line of glue on the page toward the spine like this. Then press on one of the end pages onto that line of glue with the folded edge toward the spine. Flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Then press the book again and let it all dry. This next part is totally optional. I just like to add it to my books to add extra strength to the binding. I cut a piece of paper down to 5 by 8 inches, center the spine on the paper, and sort of form it around the spine so that it glues on easier. Add glue to the spine, and glue the 2 sides to the end pages. And yes, press it one more time and wait for all of it to dry. Now for the cover, I'm using this vinyl that I got from my local fabric store, and it looks a lot like Tom Riddle's diary, but you can of course use any material you would like. Hold the book in place on the inside of the fabric and trace your book, leaving at least 1 inch or more of fabric around it. Hold it in that position and rotate it so you have the spine to trace, and then put it back down so you have the other side to trace. This will be your guide on how large to make the cover. Then around the guide that you made, you want to make 1/4 of an inch border. This is how far the cover will hang over your text block. Then trim off any excess material around your cover piece just to make it all even, and trim all the corners at an angle like this. Now I have the cover material all ready and I'm going to glue in these sides. I chose to use a hot glue gun for this, and I added a line of glue along that border I made, and quickly fold the flap over before the glue dries. Repeat this step on all sides. To glue the text block to the cover, I'm going to use this material, which is an iron-on adhesive. I chose to work with this because I think it works well with the vinyl material, but you can also use any glue that works on fabric. Put the text block on it and trace the end pages. Trace and cut out 2 of these, one for each side. Place the textured side down on the fabric on the inside of the cover, line it up to the spine and center it, and iron it on following the instructions that came with the adhesive. And do the same thing with the other piece. After it's all ironed on, then peel the paper side off. Then line your text block in place again using the guidelines as your reference, and iron the end pages to those areas of adhesive. Now that the book is made, you could stop here if you're like, I just can't do anymore, this took way too long already. But why stop here? So the next thing I'm going to do is add those decorative corner pieces. On a piece of board that is just from a cereal box, I made a square that is 1 3/4 inches, and drew a similar corner design. Cut it out and use it as a template to make 3 more. To make them gold, I'm using this metallic paper, and just glued them on, making sure that they had enough room to have a border on the sides where they'll fold over on the book. Then trim them all out and cut the border that I left like this. After they're all cut out, I used a hot glue gun to glue them onto the corners, and glued the flaps over on the inside like this. Then using a permanent marker, just making a design that's similar to the one I've seen in the movie. Since I'm going all out with this book, I'm going to finish this with the Tom Riddle name stamp on the back. The official one looks like it's foil stamped, but I don't have those tools, so I printed out a similar typeface and just practiced this freehand with a metallic gold marker, and just went for it using this printout as a guide. And I carefully did this because the cover's textured and it's kind of bumpy, and this marker's thick, so it was a weird combination, but I think it came out okay. So here it is, finally finished, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, especially you hardcore Harry Potter fans out there. If this inspires you to make your own, I would love to see any pictures of your projects, so go ahead and share those on any of my social links. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to see more of my tutorials, and don't forget to check out Lauren's DIY of the Monster Book of Monsters plushie, and be sure to subscribe to her channel as well. If you like these kind of videos that are inspired by something in your favorite movie or book, let me know in the comments below and give this video a thumbs up.